Hi, hope you're having a great day. You're watching JVG Entertainment, and for this video, I'm going to be giving you the full box office breakdown of this past weekend, which included Morbius' opening weekend, Sonic the Hedgehog's 2 opening weekend overseas, Batman crossing $700 million internationally or overall, so I'm going to tell you what that means, and Velocity's second weekend drop. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting video. I'm going to tell you how good the movies are doing at the box office, and what this means for the box office industry, and just those movies in general as well. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and trust me, it's going to be a really, really nice breakdown, so make sure to watch the whole video so you hit the full breakdown. Also, if you want to skip to a specific movie, in the description below, you can just skip to a specific movie. So yeah, don't feel free to do that if you just want to skip to a specific movie. And without any more to do, let's get started. Alright, so starting off, we're going to start with Morbius' opening weekend. And Morbius had an opening weekend of $39.1 million domestically, which is actually really, really strong, especially when you consider how bad the reviews were, and the word of mouth is pretty bad, and also the Morbius is just not a big character. It's just really incredible that it actually opened this high up. It was expected to be like around 20-something million, so $39.1 million is actually pretty high, so that's very impressive for Morbius, to be honest. But it even did better internationally, where in the movie internationally did $44.9 million, even beating Birds of Prey, and barely behind Shang-Chi's debut. Like, barely. So that's really, really incredible and really, really impressive. Like, wow, that's super, super impressive. So yeah, this movie is actually doing pretty good. Overall, the global box office for its opening weekend was of $84 million, which is incredibly strong. Honestly, really, really strong. It's still unclear if this movie will open in China, so we'll see if it can get that boost or not. It's still unclear. For context, most superhero movies haven't opened in China. Spider-Man No Home did not open in China. Venom 2 did not open in China. So it is possible this movie will not open in China either. But to give more hope to the movie, the Batman did open in China just very recently. So there's a chance that movies might open in China. We'll see. The movie does have a budget of $75 million, which is actually really, really cheap for superhero movies. It's actually a really cheap budget. Most superhero movies cost over $100 million, mostly over $150 million. So for this movie to be $75 million, that's really, really cheap for superhero movies. And like I said, the global box office right now is at $84 million. So that means that overall, the movie already beat its budget. Obviously, there's still some marketing involved in there. And for a movie to be profitable, it usually has to like double its budget. But this movie is definitely without a problem, especially since this movie already beat its budget in the first weekend. It's definitely going to beat, it's definitely going to double or triple its budget or its theatrical run. So definitely expect this movie to actually be a pretty nice hit for Sony. It's actually a pretty nice hit. It's not a super big hit like Venom or Venom 2, nothing like that, but it's actually a pretty nice hit that I actually think it's very interesting and very surprising, especially when you consider the critics, where it has a Rotten Tomato score of 17%, which is super, super low. Like, wow, that's incredible. And a Cinemascore of C+, which is actually pretty bad for a Cinemascore. Usually you want to be in the B+, A-, A type of category. A is really good. A- is pretty good. It's actually pretty good. And then B+ is like, yeah, that movie is good. Anything below that is usually bad. So that's pretty bad for this movie. But somehow this movie is still getting a lot of money. And there has been some word of mouth where people haven't seen that this movie is nowhere near as bad. It's just a kind of like dumb movie, but it's enjoyable. And some people seem to like that. So we'll see how the second weekend holds on. I think I could expect like a high 60 drop or like a 60% drop, just because a bunch of other movies are opening this weekend. But we'll see. Well, I'm actually very curious to see how this movie holds up, especially since there's a bunch of holidays as well. So there's also that. So we'll see how this movie holds up. I'm definitely very curious, and it's definitely gonna be a very interesting experiment to see how this does. I think this definitely shows how strong the Marvel brand is in general, as well as Spider-Man. I mean, you can definitely see that this is really, really strong. Even without Spider-Man or without any other Marvel superhero, it's just really strong to see the brand of Marvel and Spider-Man here, especially when you consider that Suicide Squad, which came out last year in August, did less than half of the box office this opening weekend than Morbius has right now, which is actually super sad for Suicide Squad. So it just goes to show you that, and that movie had amazing word of mouth. All the critics were like, oh my god, this movie's amazing. The audience was like, oh my god, this movie's amazing. And still, it did not do nowhere near as much money. However, this movie even beat that. It even overdoubled that. So that's really, really interesting and really kind of fascinating to see how the brand really does hold such a name. So this definitely means that Sony will continue their Spider-Verse movies with Madam Web starring Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney. I think that's how you say it. And the Kraven the Hunter movie starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, which is already filming, which is super interesting and very interesting development. So yeah, what does this mean for the rest of the Spider-Verse? Well, like I said, they're going to continue that because this still seems to be doing incredibly profitable. Even with the super bad reviews, the movie is still doing a bunch of money, and it's definitely going to beat its profit and everything. So I definitely think it's going to be a lot of profit for Sony. Not as huge as they maybe would have wanted, but it was still a pretty nice hit for them. So definitely they're going to keep doing that, like I said. However, I think that they're going to have to start getting their quality of the movies better, or else the brand is going to start failing. I think they've had no misses already. Venom 2 was a kind of a miss. this movie was a miss, like just in critic wise, not in like personally. I like Venom 2. I have not seen Morbius yet, so I don't really know. But critic wise, these movies have been doing terrible. Venom 1 was also critically hated and everything. So I think the movies quality has to start getting better, or else the brand will start to fail. However, for right now, I think they maybe have one more shot at like, let's see how this movie does, especially with Kraven the Hunter movie. I think that's actually a pretty strong shot. So we'll see how that movie does. I think it really is going to come down to, can they up the quality in the movies, or are they going to stay the same, and that will eventually lead to their fall. We'll see. Luckily for Sony, the next movie to release for the Spider-Verse thing is Spider-Verse 2, which has great potential to be great and great potential to be critically acclaimed, especially after the first one was incredibly critically acclaimed, even winning an Oscar. So definitely, I think there's a lot of stuff for Sony out there, and we'll see how this movie eventually does. We'll see, especially as they cross it with Spider-Man, which has already been heavily teased. We'll see how this all goes down to the box office. But for right now, it seems like Sony is on a right track to box office success, and it just has to have a little course to fix their movie's quality, or else they will fail. So yeah, that's basically the opening weekend breakdown for movies. Next up is Sonic 2. And Sonic 2 had its opening weekend in a bunch of markets overseas or internationally, where it opened at around 50% of the markets that it has. Not the biggest ones, but also not the smallest ones. It did open in the UK and stuff like that. So it did have some pretty big markets, but not the biggest ones yet. So it's just interesting to keep that in mind. But it did open around 50% of the markets. And the movie opened with $25.5 million, which is great. It's actually a really, really strong opening weekend for Sonic 2, even being the first one. And it looks to have to be really great ahead for its opening weekend in the US. So this is something very interesting, and that's actually really good. That's actually really good. The movie had amazing word of mouth, and it is showed in the box office numbers, as the numbers for the movie actually increased as the weekend went along. So from Friday money, Saturday had a bunch more money, and also from Saturday to Sunday, Sunday had a much more money than Saturday, which is actually super rare to see. Usually after a Saturday, it always declines down on Sunday. So the fact that this was able to happen is actually super interesting and super awesome. Why do I say this? Well, the past movies that were able to do this was Free Guy and Shang-Chi, which both had amazing holds weekend to weekend. I mean, like amazing holds. Shang-Chi had like 30% drops. Free Guy had even less. So honestly, they had really amazing holds, meaning that Sonic will most likely have really amazing strong holds with amazing word of mouth that is probably going to get in the US as well. So this is a great sign for Sonic, especially as you can see that it's not just going to depend on its opening weekend, which already itself seems to be really strong, but also it's going to depend a lot from these amazing holds that Sonic 2 will probably have. So that's really good. That's really strong. There's also been a lot of buzz over a really mind-breaking opening, mind-blowing post-credit scene and all that type of stuff. So honestly, the word of mouth is just great. If you want to see more reviews on Sonic 2 and everything, you can check out this video where I break down a bunch of critics' opinions and everything to tell you what to expect from the movie and everything. So check out that video if you're more curious into what people are saying about Sonic. But overall, Sonic seems to be in a really good shape, especially ahead of its debut in the US, and definitely expect this movie to be a full-on hit in the US whenever it opens. Alright, now moving to The Lost City, and The Lost City dropped 51.7% from its first weekend, earning $14.7 million the second weekend. This puts the total domestic box office for the movie at $54.5 million, and only $7 million internationally, for a total box office of $61.5 million. The budget of this movie is $68 million, so the movie is doing barely decent. To be fair, it's doing barely decent. It has now passed its budget, and has already passed the second weekend. Usually you want to pass your budget past the second weekend, because like I said, you usually have to triple the budget to be profitable. So that's definitely not doing very nice for this movie. However, it's not terrible. It's at least going to make some money, and you can definitely expect this movie to be a lot more of a hit once it gets PVOD and streaming services and all that type of stuff. So I think that movie's going to depend a lot on the ancillary market, where people buy it or rent it, and that definitely seems like it's going to be a really strong movie for that market. For the theaters, not so much. As you can see, it's not doing incredibly well. It's not doing bad either, but it's getting a little bit of piece of the cake, but not enough for it to be like a hit. So I wouldn't call it a hit. I would just call it like a okay, decent movie at the box office. That's what the movie is basically at. Lastly, moving on to The Batman. And The Batman did good this weekend, pulling $10.8 million on its fifth weekend, which is actually pretty impressive. That's actually a really good amount of money, $10.8 million. That's really strong and really solid, so I respect that. The domestic total now stands at $349 million, which is actually really good. That's actually a pretty strong domestic total. Not incredibly amazing, like, oh my god, it's super strong, but that's a really solid, good total. It's really good. It's just not great, but it's really good. So that's awesome. That's really good for this movie. And the movie also just crossed $700 million in total globally, now standing at $710.5 million, which is actually, once again, really strong, really good. Not like amazing, mind-blowing expectations are great, but it's doing really strong and really good. So that's great. In 2 weeks from the time I'm recording this video, but probably in a little bit less than 2 weeks by the time you actually end up seeing this video, the movie will land on HBO Max, which is going to be on Wednesday, April, I don't know, like what is it, like 20 something, somewhere around that. So around that, it's gonna land on HBO Max, giving the movie 2 more full weekends for it to do its box office money before it hits HBO Max, which will probably, without a doubt, hurt its theatrical box office money. So we'll see how that goes. But that does give it 2 more full weekends, and this does make me think that this movie is not gonna hit $1 billion, as many of you guys were hoping. I know a lot of people were hoping for this movie to hit $1 billion. That does not seem to be the case. It still did really, really strong. I think you should still be very, very happy with how great the movie did. But it did not. It's definitely going to cost $1 million, especially after the movie, to be honest, did flop on China. China does have a whole situation with coronavirus right now, so it could also be that. But the movie did not do strong numbers in China, despite the fact that it actually got to open in China. It just wasn't able to get that money from there. So that movie just did not get enough interest in overseas markets as it did internationally, which is actually super interesting. But at the same time, it's just kind of sad for the Batman movie. I know coronavirus did kind of hit a little bit hard when the movie first came out, but if you compare it to other hit movies, Spider-Man No Way Home, which came out at its peak of Omicron, going wild all around the markets, the movie still did incredibly well, beating records and being the 5th highest movie of all time. So the Batman, well, it certainly has enough of an excuse. It's not like full inexcusable. So overall, it just seems like the Batman movie did not have enough appeal to reach $1 billion. However, the movie still did really, really incredibly strong at the box office, and I think everybody should be happy with this box office. And I would definitely expect a sequel announcement with this movie's box office, especially as the movie was not as expensive as a bunch of other superhero movies. So definitely, I definitely think that means that you can definitely expect another sequel, especially if it's going to be around the same budget as this movie. So definitely expect that. We're already having a bunch of spin-off shows and everything, so I think it's just a matter of time for a sequel announcement, and I think you should be very happy with the Batman, which I would call a box office hit. So yeah, that was my box office breakdown for this past weekend for these 4 movies. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then just make sure to like. It's very, very helpful, so please leave a like. As well, subscribe for level of content. I do a box office breakdown video. Usually I run every time a big movie opens, so you can definitely expect one with Sonic 2 opening weekend in the US and all type of stuff. So subscribe for all that content. It'll be very helpful. As well as and I forgot to mention this. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness tickets did just go on sale. Pre-order right a month before the movie comes out, so that's definitely interesting. It got reported that it did already beat the Batman pre-sale tickets in 3 hours. In 3 hours, it beat what Batman did in 24 hours. So you can definitely assume the movie to be the next biggest hit on the market. The Batman, for context, opened huge. I think it opened like 120 million, something like that. So you can definitely expect Multiverse of Madness to probably cross $200 million on its opening weekend, which is going to be crazy, and it's going to be the second movie to do it after Spider-Man Home. So that is incredible. So just keep that in mind. The movie comes out in around a month, so that's really crazy. We're super close, and I can't wait to see how that movie does at the box office. Definitely subscribe for me to cover that. Definitely you're going to enjoy all that box office coverage of that movie, and just like that coverage in that movie in general. And yeah, lastly, just make sure to comment in the comments, how happy are you that these movies are doing good or bad? What do you think about the Morbius opening weekend? Did you go see the movie? What do you think about it? Have you seen Sonic yet? Are you going to see Sonic? Tell me all that type of stuff down in the comments. I'm definitely curious. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And this is James Entertainment, out.